because we're time beings. We travel through time. And I'm Ilana now, and I'll be somebody else, and I've been somebody else, and,
Babylonian Talmud and the Babylonian Kabbalah, which are the principal spiritual texts of the Jewish people, the rabbis certainly. And this basically these are blueprints, for hatred, for Christianity, for Christ, for the Western Christian civilization, and their overthrow. And of course, this then gets codified in the protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, as well as the Communist Manifesto, as well as a number of other documents that are traceable, and go to Hugh Aiken's book. And then there's Tex Mars's book, The Holy Serpent of the Jews. And, he quotes the rabbis themselves and their own game plan. He quotes Harold Rosenthal, who was a Senate aide to Senator Jacob Javits, who said most Jews don't like to admit it, but the God we worship is Lucifer. Well, so we're dealing with a satanic movement. We're dealing with a serpent cult here, which at the surface, we all know nice Jews and everything, but at the surface, they look like us, but they are in fact tribal. If you go back to Theodor Herzl and his comments at the World Zionist Conference in 1897, he was asked. Of course, this is before Israel was formed as a nation. He said, is Israel really a nation? And he said, yes, because the Jews are a distinct race, number one. And number two, because if by a nation you mean a people united against a common enemy, then yes, we are a nation. Well, what you have to realize is the common enemy is everybody who's not Jewish. And that's the Goyim, that's the Gentiles, that's the other. And they refer to us as beasts. They consider themselves gods. They consider us beasts, to be robbed, stolen from, cheated, and deprived of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So what you see then is over the last 2,000 years, the Jewish dispersal into all the nations, and in 100 nations or more in the last couple thousand years, they have been kicked out of nations, because everywhere they go, they form a nation within a nation, and they contrive to bring that nation state down. Kevin McDonald has written 3 great books about this. He is one of my fellow professors at the California State University, talking about this, this phenomenon, almost from a political, sociological point of view. And so, if you want to know the roots of this thing, yeah, go back to the Protocols of Zion. In fact, I can read you some protocols if you'd be interested to hear them, that are directly related to where we are now.
Yeah.
Church under a one world government within a new world order. All these things considered, and these are Hugh Aiken's words, how can we not see the rabbinic blueprint implemented in virtually every heresy, event, revolt, and crisis of the 18th, 19th, and 20th century, and continuing into the 21st? Okay, then Protocol 18 really gets down to it. It said Protocol 18 deals with the precipitating internal disorders, for instance, terrorist events, and then acting swiftly to execute mass arrests of the more dangerous opponents of the Zionist master plan. This is precisely what's behind the policy since the Clinton administration, and increasingly so during the Bush and Obama administrations, to associate Christians, pro-lifers, constitutionalists, Ron Paul conservatives, homeschoolers, Second Amendment advocates, 9/11 truthers, Holocaust revisionists, critics of Israel, and those who oppose the Jewish Federal Reserve and all of the needless wars we fight for Israel. All these sincere Christians and patriots are singled out by our government in the hands of the Zionist elders as quote-unquote potential homegrown terrorists. Also, they're called in military documents insurgents, non-state actors, adversaries, etc. And the genius of Mark Rich's book is that he actually goes through and finds the military documents and the language that they use that describes this fourth generation warfare that we're now in. And so I would make the point that Americans need to wake up and stop being complicit on the electronic warfare, directed energy weapons, which it is my contention, Freeman, that this is the fingerprints, if you will, of the New World Order, that PSYOPs, that is to say mass trauma-based mind control, and electronic warfare, that is to say directed energy weapons, were used in the Kennedy assassination. We can talk about that. They were used in Operation 9/11. We can talk about that. And they are being used en masse around the world in this phenomenon that we call gang stalking. And they're targeting domestic enemies. And what's happening is with fourth generation warfare, that's what gang stalking is. It's fourth generation warfare. It's unconventional. This is a revolution coming from the extremely rich, from the top, from the Zionists, from the Nazis, you might call them Zion Nazis, from the ruling elite. So I'll stop there and get your where you want to take it. Once that phase reaches a certain critical level, and these phases can bleed one into the other, then you have the attack phase by electronic means, the electronic warfare, the directed energy weapons. There's all kinds of technologies. They can put voices in your skull, the V2K, voice to skull. They can use subliminal